Zara's journey from Vion had been one of exploration and curiosity. Her mission, to observe Earth from a safe distance, gathering data on its ecosystems and civilizations. However, unforeseen complications during her orbit around Earth caused her ship's systems to fail, sending her hurtling towards the planet's surface. The crash was catastrophic. Zara's ship, a sleek vessel built for stealth and surveying, was torn apart as it descended through Earth's atmosphere, eventually coming to rest in the vast expanse of the Nevada desert. As dawn broke, the wreckage lay scattered across the sand, half buried and smoldering, a stark contrast to the serene and barren landscape. Inside the wreckage, Zara regained consciousness. Dazed and injured, she crawled from the debris, her body aching and her mind racing with the implications of her crash. Stranded on an alien world she had only meant to study from afar, she was overwhelmed by a mix of fear and awe as she surveyed her surroundings. The endless stretches of sand and rock, devoid of any visible life. The initial shock of the crash soon gave way to the harsh realities of survival. Zara assessed her situation. Her ship was beyond repair, her communication devices were destroyed, and her supplies were limited. The nearest sign of civilization was miles away, far beyond what she could hope to reach on foot, especially in her weakened state. As the sun climbed higher, the temperature soared, and Zara quickly realized the direness of her predicament. The desert, with its brutal heat and chilling nights, was unforgiving. She fashioned a makeshift shelter from the wreckage to protect herself from the elements and scavenged what little food and water she could from the remains of her ship. Despite her advanced alien physiology, which allowed her to conserve water more efficiently than humans, Zara knew she couldn't survive in the desert indefinitely. She needed to find help, but the isolation of her crash site made the possibility seem increasingly unlikely. Night fell, and with it came the cold. Zara huddled in her shelter, trying to stay warm. She gazed up at the stars, so different from those seen from Vion, and felt a profound loneliness. The vastness of Earth, a planet teeming with life yet so alien to her, closed in around her. She wondered if she would ever see her home again, or if the desert would become her silent, eternal resting place. Her thoughts were a mix of fear and determination. If there was any chance of survival, any hope of rescue, she would have to take action. But as she lay there, listening to the sounds of the desert night, she felt the weight of her solitude more acutely than ever. The realization that she might never be found, that her journey could end here on this beautiful but alien planet, was both terrifying and sobering. The sun had barely touched the horizon when Jack O'Connor, a geologist surveying the remote areas of the Nevada desert for potential mineral deposits, noticed an unusual glint of metal among the sand dunes. Curiosity piqued. He steered his rugged jeep toward the anomaly, unaware that he was about to stumble upon the most significant discovery of his career. As he approached, the glint resolved into a chaotic spread of wreckage, unmistakably alien in its architecture. Jack parked his jeep at a safe distance and approached cautiously, his heart pounding with a mix of excitement and fear. Amid the twisted metal and strange technology, he found Zara, weak and visibly injured but alive. Their first interaction was tense. Zara, wary of any earthly human intentions, tried to conceal her fear. Jack, though taken aback by her otherworldly appearance, her shimmering skin and the ethereal quality of her movements, recognized her distress and offered help in the form of water and basic first aid from his kit. Despite the language barrier, the universal signs of compassion bridged the gap between them. Zara, understanding his intentions were kind, accepted his help with a cautious gratitude. Over the next few hours, Jack used his satellite phone to contact local authorities, but decided against revealing the full extent of what he'd found. Instead, he focused on helping Zara recover enough to communicate more effectively. Using a translation app on his phone, they began to exchange basic information. Zara learned that Jack was a scientist, not unlike herself in his curiosity about the natural world, which helped her trust him further. Jack, with a keen interest in extraterrestrial science fiction, quickly grasped the significance of Zara's presence and her need for secrecy. He offered her a place to stay in his small, isolated cabin where she could recover and plan her next steps without attracting unwanted attention. The drive back to his cabin was quiet, filled with mutual contemplation of the bizarre turn their lives had taken. Jack glanced occasionally at Zara, her face illuminated by the passing lights, wondering about the vast knowledge she must possess, and the stark fear of being stranded on an alien planet. Zara, for her part, appreciated the silent solidarity, realizing that Jack's decision to help her could have placed him in considerable danger. Upon arriving at the cabin, Jack showed Zara to a guest room where she could rest. The small, rustic home was surrounded by vast desert, providing safety in its seclusion. As night fell and the cabin quieted, Zara sat by the window, looking out at the alien landscape that was now her refuge. Her thoughts drifted to her home planet, the family she might never see again, and the unexpected kindness of a stranger who had become her only ally on this strange new world. This moment of quiet reflection solidified her resolve to survive, to adapt, and perhaps find a way back home, with Jack's help. Meanwhile, Jack, lying awake in the adjacent room, realized his life had changed forever. He was no longer just a geologist. He was now a guardian of an incredible secret, and a friend to a being from another world. His sense of responsibility grew stronger, knowing that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges neither of them could fully anticipate. As Zara recuperated under Jack's care, they began to bridge the communication gap more effectively. Jack, fascinated by Zara's insights into her technology and culture, brought books and maps to help her understand Earth better. In turn, Zara shared details about Vion, her home planet, describing its vast oceans and advanced societies. Their evenings were filled with exchanges that were part academic and part storytelling, forging a bond rooted in mutual curiosity and respect. Jack installed various language translation apps on his devices, facilitating deeper and more meaningful conversations. They discovered shared interests in environmental science and astronomy, which helped Zara feel less isolated and more connected to her temporary home. This period of learning was a gentle reprieve from the urgency of her situation, providing both Jack and Zara with a sense of normalcy amid the extraordinary circumstances. Their relationship, built on the foundation of knowledge exchange and mutual aid, grew stronger. Jack respected Zara's resilience and intellect, while Zara appreciated Jack's empathy and openness. This mutual admiration laid the groundwork for a deeper connection, transcending the initial boundaries of rescuer and castaway. Aware of the increasing danger as government and media interest in the crash site escalated, Jack and Zara knew they needed a long-term plan. Jack proposed a trip to a more remote location, a cabin he knew in the deeper recesses of the Sierra Nevada mountains, where they could hide while figuring out their next steps. Preparing for the journey required careful planning. They stocked up on supplies, carefully avoiding busy areas and purchasing items at different locations to avoid drawing attention. Zara, still adjusting to her human guise, learned to mimic earthly behaviors and dress to blend in, though she always felt an acute sense of being an outsider. On the day of their departure, they drove through the less traveled paths, the scenic routes offering them not just concealment but breathtaking views, mountains and forests that were starkly different from the barren desert. Zara was captivated by the beauty and diversity of Earth's landscapes, each mile further deepening her affection for the planet. Their time at the remote cabin brought new challenges and joys. Isolated from the world, they relied heavily on each other for company and survival. Jack taught Zara how to fish and collect edible plants, while Zara shared techniques for purifying water using minimal resources, skills she had learned as a survivalist on Vion. During one particularly clear night, they sat outside the cabin watching the stars. Zara pointed out constellations from Vion's sky, drawing parallels between them and Earth's celestial patterns. The night sky, a common sight yet uniquely different from each of their worlds, reminded them of the vastness of the universe and the serendipitous nature of their meeting. It was during these quiet moments, away from the chaos of the outside world, that they realized how much they had come to rely on each other, not just for survival, but for companionship and understanding. The bond that had begun as a necessary alliance to overcome adversity was slowly transforming into something deeper, an unspoken acknowledgement of their growing importance to each other. As Jack and Zara settled into the isolated routine of their mountain refuge, the outside world continued its frenzied speculation about the mysterious crash in the Nevada desert. Unbeknownst to them, a determined government agent, Callum Reed, had pieced together enough evidence to suggest the presence of an extraterrestrial survivor. His relentless pursuit was fueled by a mix of professional ambition and a profound curiosity about the universe beyond Earth. Meanwhile, Jack and Zara took every precaution to stay under the radar. Jack, understanding the capabilities of Earth's satellite surveillance, created routes for emergency escapes and cached supplies at strategic points around the cabin. Zara, tapping into her training in stealth and evasion from her home planet, helped fortify their hideout against possible intrusion. Their preparations proved necessary when one afternoon, as Zara was returning from a foraging trip, she spotted a drone silently hovering over the forest near their cabin. She quickly retreated and alerted Jack, who realized that their location might have been compromised. They decided to enact one of their pre-planned escape routes immediately, leaving behind little evidence of their presence. Under the cover of night, Jack and Zara abandoned the cabin, taking only essential supplies with them. They moved through the dense forest to a secondary location, a cave Jack had used in the past during his geological surveys. As they navigated the rough terrain, the emotional toll of constant vigilance began to weigh on them, stripping the freedom they had briefly cherished. In the safety of the cave, as they caught their breath, Zara voiced her concerns about the future. She worried about the constant threat of capture and what it would mean for both of them. Jack, trying to maintain a semblance of optimism, reassured her of his commitment to protect her, no matter the cost. However, his assurances couldn't mask the gravity of their situation. The following day, as they made their way to a nearby stream for water, they encountered Agent Reed and his team, who had tracked them to the area. A tense standoff ensued. Jack stepped in front of Zara, trying to negotiate their safety, but Reed was resolute, driven by the protocol that demanded Zara's capture for governmental study. Zara, realizing that their capture was imminent, made a split-second decision. Using a non-lethal defensive device she had salvaged from her ship, she created a blinding light that temporarily disoriented Reed and his team, giving her and Jack just enough time to escape back into the dense foliage. Breathing heavily, hearts pounding with adrenaline, they managed to lose the pursuit team as they knew the terrain far better. Once they believed they were safe, hidden away in another one of Jack's pre-scouted hiding spots, they had to confront the reality that staying ahead of a determined governmental pursuit would require more drastic measures. Their close call with Agent Reed solidified their resolve to find a more permanent solution. Jack proposed seeking help from an old friend who was an advocate for extraterrestrial rights, believing that legal and public advocacy might offer them protection. Though risky, it seemed like their only chance to stop running and start fighting for a right to live freely on Earth. Jack and Zara reached out to his old friend Eleanor, an experienced lawyer known for her work in international and extraterrestrial law. After a cautious and secretive meeting in a nondescript location, Eleanor agreed to help. She was intrigued by Zara's situation and sympathetic to their plight, seeing it as a potential landmark case for the rights of extraterrestrial beings on Earth. Under Eleanor's guidance, Jack and Zara began the process of constructing a legal defense that would allow Zara to seek asylum or protected status. This required Zara to formally reveal herself to the authorities under controlled conditions, a prospect that was fraught with risk but necessary for any long-term solution. As they prepared for this pivotal step, the emotional strain on both Jack and Zara intensified. One evening, sitting by a small fire outside their latest hideout, a secluded cabin deep in the Rocky Mountains, they shared their fears and hopes. In the flickering firelight, Jack took Zara's hands in his voice steady despite the uncertainty that lay ahead. "Zara, no matter what happens, I want you to know that being with you, helping you, it's changed me. You've shown me a part of the universe I never knew existed. But more than that, you've shown me parts of myself I'd forgotten or never knew were there. I'm with you all the way." Zara, moved by his words, felt a surge of affection and gratitude. "Jack, you have given me a home when I thought I was lost, and a hope when I felt despair. Whatever comes, I know that what we have is worth every risk." Their heartfelt exchange deepened their connection, solidifying their resolve to face the upcoming challenges together. They knew the road ahead would be fraught with legal battles and public scrutiny, but the bond they had formed, forged in adversity and illuminated by moments of joy and discovery, gave them the strength to face it. With Eleanor's help, Jack and Zara crafted a detailed plan to bring her case to the public and the authorities. Eleanor arranged for a press conference to preemptively shape the narrative in their favor, framing Zara's presence on Earth as an opportunity for scientific and cultural exchange rather than a threat. The day of the press conference arrived, and with heavy security measures in place, Zara stepped forward to tell her story to the world. The event was broadcasted globally, and her appearance sparked intense media interest and public debate. Zara spoke eloquently about her peaceful mission, her forced landing, and her desire to coexist with humanity. Meanwhile, Jack and Eleanor worked behind the scenes, coordinating with sympathetic officials and preparing for the legal battles ahead. They petitioned for Zara's right to stay on Earth based on humanitarian grounds, citing the dangers she faced if returned to her planet under the circumstances of her departure. The response to the press conference was mixed. Many were fascinated and sympathetic, others skeptical or fearful. The story of Zara, the alien stranded on Earth, became a sensation, influencing public opinion and the political landscape. Amid this whirlwind of activity, Jack and Zara found solace in their shared mission and in each other. Each step forward in their public and legal fight was a step deeper into their relationship, their partnership defined not just by love, but by a shared commitment to a cause much greater than themselves. As they navigated this complex situation, they knew that each victory was fragile and that the road ahead would be full of challenges. But they also knew that they had each other and that together they could face whatever came their way. Despite the initial wave of public support and fascination following the press conference, the situation took a dark turn. A faction within the government, fearful of the implications of extraterrestrial presence and integration, began to push back against Zara's potential asylum. They leveraged the fear of the unknown among the populace, spreading misinformation about the dangers of extraterrestrial interactions. As Jack and Zara, along with Eleanor, navigated these turbulent political waters, they discovered a more personal and painful betrayal. An assistant in Eleanor's office, someone who had access to sensitive information regarding Zara's legal strategies, was found to be leaking details to the opposition. This betrayal not only endangered their legal fight, but also put Zara's safety at direct risk. The revelation of the leak sent shockwaves through their small team. Trust, once unshakable, was now frayed, and the personal violation left Zara feeling vulnerable and isolated once more. The strain was palpable, as both she and Jack struggled to come to terms with the breach. Determined not to let this setback derail their efforts, they increased their security measures and restructured their inner circle, cutting off access to potentially compromising information. This period of adjustment was difficult and strained their spirits, but the crisis also reaffirmed their resolve to fight not just for Zara's rights but for the broader implications of her case. Amid the ongoing legal battles and the shadow of betrayal, Jack planned a surprise to lift Zara's spirits. He organized a small private event celebrating the culture of Vion, bringing a piece of her world to Earth. He collaborated with Zara to gather materials and create a Vion-style evening under the stars, complete with traditional foods that Zara taught him to prepare, music recordings from her planet, and decorations that reflected her home's aesthetic. The evening was a bittersweet affair. Zara was touched by Jack's effort to bring her a sense of home, and as they shared this slice of Vion with a few close friends and supporters, she felt a renewed connection to her roots. The event served as a poignant reminder of what was at stake, her chance to live freely and share her culture on Earth. As they danced under the Earth's sky to the haunting melodies of Vion, Jack and Zara found a moment of peace and happiness. They realized that despite the challenges and the uncertainties of their future, they had managed to create a life together filled with depth and meaning. This joyous interlude rekindled their hope and passion for their cause. It reminded them that beyond the legal arguments and public debates were two hearts beating in unison, fighting for a chance to blend their worlds. With renewed vigor, they prepared to continue their fight, knowing that whatever the outcome, they had already achieved something extraordinary. The night ended with a promise exchanged under the stars, a promise to always find joy amid adversity and to celebrate their union, whatever the future might hold. This promise fortified them as they faced the coming days, ready to confront the challenges ahead with the strength of their shared bond. Despite their renewed spirits and fortified defenses, the opposition's tactics escalated. Late one night, while Jack and Zara were asleep, their hideout was breached by a tactical unit operating under covert government orders. They were taken by surprise, overwhelmed by the precision and speed of the assault. Jack fought to protect Zara, but outnumbered and outgunned, he was quickly subdued. Zara, despite her advanced abilities, chose not to retaliate with lethal force for fear of causing irreparable damage to their cause and perhaps even inciting an interstellar incident. She was handcuffed with restraints designed to neutralize her alien strength, and both were taken to a high-security facility. In captivity, Jack and Zara were separated, isolated in different parts of the facility designed to house extraterrestrial beings. The stark, cold environment was a far cry from the warm, shared moments they had come to cherish. For Zara, the isolation was torturous, not just physically but emotionally, as she feared for Jack's safety and their collective future. Meanwhile, Jack was interrogated about his knowledge of Zara's technology and their plans. Despite the pressure, he revealed nothing, his resolve hardened by his commitment to protect Zara and their rights. His silence was his rebellion, his loyalty to Zara unyielding despite the personal cost. Determined to reunite with Zara and secure their freedom, Jack formulated an escape plan. Leveraging his geological knowledge, he exploited the facility's structural vulnerabilities, a network of old, decommissioned service tunnels that ran beneath the building. During a transfer between interrogation sessions, Jack made his move. Using a makeshift lockpick he had secretly fashioned, he managed to free himself from his restraints. He subdued a guard, took his keys, and navigated through the dimly lit corridors, using the disoriented chaos of his breakout to cover his movements. Finding Zara was Jack's single focus, and his heart pounded as he approached the high-security wing where she was held. Using the guard's keys, he unlocked her cell, and the moment their eyes met, a mix of relief and resolve passed between them. They knew the road ahead would be fraught with immediate danger, but together, they felt invincible. With Zara's guidance, they accessed a hidden panel in her cell that led to the service tunnels Jack had identified. The tunnels were dark and cramped, but they pressed on, driven by the desperate need for freedom and the fear of recapture. Emerging from the tunnels several miles away from the facility, they found themselves in a dense forest under the cover of night. Exhausted but free, they paused to catch their breath, their minds racing with the implications of their escape. They were fugitives now, more so than ever, but they were together, and that was what mattered most. Knowing they couldn't stay hidden forever, and that their actions would have repercussions, they decided to contact Eleanor, their stalwart ally. Using a secure phone hidden in one of their prearranged emergency caches, they called her, their voices a mixture of urgency and hope. Eleanor, shocked yet relieved to hear from them, quickly mobilized her resources to help. She arranged for a safe house where they could regroup and plan their next steps, and perhaps more importantly, she set in motion a legal and media campaign to leverage their escape into a call for reform and dialogue about extraterrestrial rights. As Jack and Zara made their way to the safe house, their spirits were buoyed by their successful escape, and by each other's presence. They knew that the struggle was far from over, but they also knew that they had each other, and that together they could face whatever challenges came next. Arriving at the safe house, a secluded cabin nestled deep in the Appalachian Mountains, Jack and Zara found a momentary sanctuary. Here, under Eleanor's guidance, they could recover from the physical and emotional toll of their escape and plan their next moves. Eleanor arrived shortly after them, bringing supplies, news from the outside world, and a strategy for the coming days. Their reunion was filled with relief and strategic planning. Eleanor had been working tirelessly, leveraging the media storm around Jack and Zara's dramatic escape to highlight the issues surrounding extraterrestrial rights and the need for transparent governmental policies regarding interstellar beings. She informed them that their story had ignited a global debate, prompting protests and calls for legislative reform. "Eleanor, we can't thank you enough," Jack said, his voice heavy with gratitude. "But we're not out of the woods yet. We need to ensure Zara's safety long-term and push for legal protections for her and others like her." Eleanor nodded, her expression serious. "The public support has been unprecedented, but it's the political will that we need to influence now. Your case has the potential to set a new precedent. We need to keep the pressure up and use this momentum to drive change." Zara, still wary but hopeful, added, "I never intended to become a symbol, but if my situation can lead to a better understanding between our worlds, then it's a role I'm willing to embrace." With Eleanor's help, they began to prepare for a series of public appearances and legal proceedings designed to solidify Zara's status on Earth and foster an environment of cooperation between humans and extraterrestrial visitors. Months passed, filled with legal battles, public speeches, and media appearances. Jack and Zara became prominent figures in the movement for extraterrestrial rights, their love story humanizing the debate and helping to shift public and political opinion. Finally, their efforts bore fruit. The International Extraterrestrial Relations Committee, a newly formed body within the United Nations, passed the Interstellar Sanctuary Act, which provided legal protection and rights to extraterrestrial beings stranded on Earth. Zara was granted official asylum, and her right to live on Earth with Jack was legally recognized. On the day the act was passed, Jack and Zara stood before a crowd in New York City, their hands intertwined, addressing people from around the globe. "Today marks a new beginning," Jack announced, his voice echoing over the cheering crowd. "Today, we celebrate not just a victory for one, but a new horizon for all beings, human or otherwise. Together, we look forward to a future built on understanding, respect, and love." Zara, radiant and strong, spoke next, her words a testament to their journey. "On this planet, I found more than a safe haven. I found a home, a cause worth fighting for, and a person worth loving. Thank you for standing with us, for believing in us, and for fighting with us." As they walked off the stage hand in hand, the sun set over the city, casting a warm glow that felt like a promise. The world they would build together was still uncertain in its specifics, but certain in its possibility. Jack and Zara knew whatever challenges the future held, their love and their shared commitment to their cause would guide them through. Their love, once a fragile spark in the vastness of the universe, had ignited a beacon of hope, a beacon that promised new beginnings not just for them, but for Earth and the interstellar community. Together, they looked forward to exploring this new world, side by side, hearts united under the banner of their hard-won freedom.